Thank you, Lopez. Thank you, Gus. Thank you, Mohammedu. Thank you, Cobb. Lawrenston. Thank you, Price. Oh, Prince. I'm sorry. And thank you for joining in. Um, uh, and thank you if you just join in, just share so we have many people to join us. And thank you again. My name is Funton Daniel. I will be speaking here live from the great state of Texas. If you just join in, just share so we have many people to join us. And thank you, Sarah, for joining in. And thank you, Terry, for joining in. And thank you, Phoebe, for joining in. And if you just tune in, could you share so we have many people joining us? And here again, my name is Funta Daniel. I will be speaking live here from the great state of Texas. And if you just tune in, just indicate below where you are. If you're here in the great state of Texas or you as well in the United States, just indicate where you are in the United States. Or you might be in South America, just indicate where you are in South America. Or if you are in ground zero, just indicate where you are in ground zero. If you are in La Republic, just indicate where you are in La Republic. And if you are in Europe, just indicate where you are in Europe. And if you are in the Middle East, just indicate where you are in the Middle East. If you are in Russia, if you are in China, wherever you are, just indicate below. And I want to thank you so much. And I have I have Ike, and thank you for tuning in, for joining in. I have Nidia or no, I'm sorry, I can't pronounce the name, but I apologize for that. But anyway, thank you for joining in. Just share so that we have many audience that are joining us. And once more again, you can always get me live on Facebook and live on Twitter account, live on YouTube. So either way, you will get me in touch. And thank you again for taking off your time and be able to watch me. And here, my name is Funton Daniel. I will be speaking here live from the great state of Texas about the ongoing crisis in southern Cameroon and the former British trusted territory that was an independent country but living together with La République du Cameroon and has finally declared restoration of its independence. So it doesn't need the United Nations vote, but they just reaffirm the decisions to move forward with the Southern Cameroon as a sovereign nation. And so we are going to be talking about the issues right now. And I want to take a moment to thank you. And if you just join in, just indicate below where you are. And thank you for joining in. And I want to take a moment to thanks Zubi. Oh, thanks, Zubi. Wow, good to see you. A long time. And I just want to thank you for taking off your time. And I guess you're probably not working today. But anyway, thank you so much. Greeting to your wife and all the family. And thanks, Akko. Yes, thank you for tuning in. And again, if you just tune in, just share so that we have many people joining us. And I want to take a moment to thank you. And here again, my name is Funton Daniel. I will be speaking here live from the great state of Texas. And Before we proceed, I want to take a moment to thank the President of the United States. I want to take a moment to thank the U.S. Secretary of State. He is currently in Africa on tour of Africa, and he has a very strong momentum, traveling about several different African countries to discuss the United States policy towards African descent. And we want to thank him for that moment, for doing that excellent job. And I want to thank U.S. Department of Defense, and I want to thank U.S. Secretary, UN Permanent Representative to the United Nations, Nikki Haley. I want to thank U.S. the White House. I want to thank the entire cabinet of the United States government for doing every effort to ensure that peace and security are maintained in and around the world. And I want to thank them for that excellent job. And here again, I want to Southern Cameroon, which is the former British trusted territory. They don't need a United Nations vote to reaffirm their sovereignty, but they just simply reaffirm the 1961 decisions of the United Nations that voted overwhelmingly granting the Federal Republic of Southern Cameroon, now called the Federal Republic of Ambazonian. And I want to take a moment to thank the Southern Cameroon that are currently demonstrating. Today is a Commonwealth Day, and many of you may not know. And so La République became member of this Commonwealth because of the British Southern Cameroon. And now La République no longer a member of this Commonwealth nation because it's because of the Southern Cameroon that they became a member. And so therefore, they no longer have to be a member because the Southern Cameroon has denounced that relationship. And so there is ongoing demonstration at the Commonwealth in London today as I'm speaking. And I'm sure everyone should be there. And the Secretary of State for the Southern Cameroon Federation reiterate his positions that all of you, if you happen to be in Europe and have the opportunity, you should be in England for the demonstration. And I want to thank those efforts that they are being carried out in London. And so we thank you so much. And let me see. Uh, Thank you for, and so remember again, you can always get me live on YouTube, live on Twitter, and live on Facebook. So either way, you should be able to get me and ISOM broadcasting. And remember that you can always watch it live on my YouTube. And when you go to the YouTube, make sure you subscribe. And so that is where information quickly, immediately, and indicate to you that I am coming off on live. And thank you, Gerard, for tuning in. And thank you, Gerard, for watching, and thank you so much. But there is a problem. I know I have been speaking here in the great state of Texas about the issues affecting the people of Southern Cameroon. And I have always give good account or good analysis about what is Southern Cameroon. And Southern Cameroon was the former British trusted territory that they have proclaimed or restored their independent sovereignty. And they haven't got it easily with La République du Cameroon. Right now that I'm speaking, Right now that I'm speaking, there is ongoing brutality. There is ongoing genocide. There is ongoing murdering the people of Southern Cameroon. And this is ongoing as I'm speaking. The entire military wing of La République du Cameroon are in Southern Cameroon as I'm speaking. And the people of Batibo, especially, the people of Batibo as I'm speaking, the people of Guzan as I'm speaking. And I'm also speaking directly to the Commonwealth Secretariat. And if they are watching these informations, and that the people of Southern Cameroon has got enough of La République. And we have certainly reaffirmed the decision that we are moving forward from La République. And we also speaking directly, I am speaking directly to the United States government. That the relationship that exists between the people of Southern Cameroon, the former British trusted territory, is no longer exists. And anyone dealing with the Republic of Cameroon in the name of Southern Cameroon should cease to exist. I am speaking firmly, and I've asked La République to immediately or unconditionally withdraw from the Southern Cameroon territory. The people of Batibo in the Southern Cameroon territory, the people of Guzan, the people are living in the forests. The people are living in the bushes. Mother and children that are living in the rivers. They are living, I mean, some are being bitten by snakes, mosquitoes, as I'm speaking here live. The people of Guzan, the people of Batibo, as I'm speaking, there is ongoing shooting carried on by the perpetrator of the Republic of Cameroon. And one asks, what is the relationship between the Republic of Cameroon and the people of Southern Cameroon? Remember that there is no relationship between the Republic of Cameroon and the Southern Cameroon. After the United Nations mandated that the trusted territory be prepared for sovereign nations, La République's independence, Southern Cameroon was not part of that independence. In the Southern Cameroon, La République was not part of Southern Cameroon. La République was not part of Southern Cameroon independence. Then it has become a very frustrating that when you find La République carry on genocide in the eyes of the world and no one is able to give any account or call an emergency session. United Nations is the peace, is this United Nations office here in the United States, here in New York, is supposed to take responsibility to ensure that peace and security are maintained in and around the world. But the United Nations office here in the United States hasn't done enough. They remain silent. They haven't even held an emergency session to discuss the crisis, despite the fact that some major media are reporting about this crisis. It has a call to the United Nations Secretary General to even address a general session. Even he deviated even to respond to a question by a journalist asking about the case of Southern Cameroon. And right now that I'm speaking, I am not saying something that is happening yesterday. Now that I'm speaking live, it's ongoing. There is an entire military wing of the Republic of Cameroon in Southern Cameroon territory. And one will ask, what is the relationship between the Republic of Cameroon and the Southern Cameroon? They claim they have ownership control of the Southern Cameroon. I am here to dispute that fact that La République is not any relationship with Southern Cameroon. La République simply is a cohabit, what the United States call a man living with a girlfriend for 6 months that they are not legally married. It's called a cohabit. That is the relationship the Southern Cameroon have with La République, a cohabit. And that doesn't give La République an authority over the Southern Cameroon. And that they will carry on murdering, shooting at a random, indiscriminately against the people of Southern Cameroon. La République has violated the civil right of the people of Southern Cameroon. And his entire integrity, the entire boundary of Southern Cameroon has been violated by La République and has gone ahead and appointed officials to preside over the Southern Cameroon against the wishes of the people. And the people has demonstrated, the people has shown, the people has willingly indicated to the general world As I'm speaking, the U.S. Secretary of State is currently touring Africa. I am sure the State Department is aware of this ongoing genocide going on in the Southern Cameroon territory. It hasn't occurred to the world to take a closer look about this case of the Southern Cameroon. I understand that many of you are watching live, and many of you have authority to do something. And yet I'm speaking, but it doesn't seem to make sense. But I'm bringing that as the Secretary of State for the United States is traveling to the West African region. I am sure he's aware of this situation. I think the U.S. Department of Defense is aware of this ongoing crisis in the Southern Cameroon. As I'm speaking, the U.S. military attaché in Africa also is aware of this crisis. Southern Cameroon has never been a colony territory of La République. Why should the people of Southern Cameroon be undergoing all this evil military occupation? And yet the world remains silent. But United Nations office that my tax money that being here and everyone tax money here in the United States are being used to fund this United Nations office here. And yet they haven't called an immediate session of General Assembly to discuss the crisis in Southern Cameroon. But they ignore it because it is a black race. It doesn't matter to them. If there was a crisis in Europe, it should have been a general session of the General Assembly holding here in the United Nations, here in the United States. But as this crisis continues to escalate, United Nations doesn't see it as an opportunity to call the United Nations General Assembly. Southern Cameroon is a member of a trustee territory of the United Nations. Article 76B of the United Nations granted 76B allowed the United Nations to the colonial territory, the colonial master, to prepare nations for their immediate independence. Southern Cameroon was never, but it was granted a conditional independence. But during the conditional independence, La République was not part of that conditional independence. The fact that the sons and daughters of Southern Cameroon choose La République as a cohabit does not give La République an authority to carry on genocide over the people of Southern Cameroon. As I'm speaking, many of you, as you watch, and they remain silent. And the Secretary General, who is here in the United States, if he was in China, where is the communist system, then it would have bothered me a lot because there's nothing we can do about the communist system. If he was in Russia, but Russia is much more proactive because they kick against the British policy during the vote in the Southern Cameroon independence in 1961. Russia was more concerned about the British policy during that era. And I am sure that there is no difference that Russians were more advocating for the sovereignty of Southern Cameroon. And yet the British Prime Minister remains silent. He has just dispatched the Commonwealth Secretary General. He was even denied to even have access to Southern Cameroon until he has to force a way to Boya. He didn't even make a way to Bamenda to see ongoing crisis, neither to the physical environment. As I'm speaking here, I am speaking to the people of the United States because it's the people I love, it's the people I understand, and it's the people that have passion for human dignity. And as I'm speaking here in the great state of Texas, I'm bringing this attention that as United Nations office here in the United States has failed in its obligations to carry on its specific duty to ensure that peace and security are maintained around the world. And that is why the United Nations Secretary General, representing to the Central African region, Francois Lefort, when he was asked, instead of giving a credible information about the ongoing crisis, instead he mentioned that the people of Southern Cameroon are disgruntled people fighting are terrorists. I can imagine him making such a stupid and irrelevant information. And that is why the genocide that is currently going on, carried on by perpetrator by the Republic of Cameroon military in the Southern Cameroon territory, that they don't deserve to have such an occupation. And so the acting government, the member of the acting government, the member of the interim government of Southern Cameroon, it doesn't matter where the interim government resides. They can reside anywhere in the world. The Southern Cameroon interim government can reside anywhere in the world. It doesn't matter. But so long as they meet the aspiration of the people and they stand with the voice of the people, they should be recognized. But unfortunately, they have been arrested. It's been 2 or 3 months now. The entire world remains silent. The European Parliament remains silent. The European Parliament is asking Paul Biya to investigate. That is the world we want to deal with as the world community, that the purpose is to maintain peace and security. The European Parliament, if it was some part of Europe, there should be an immediate session calling and send dispatch to ensure that something is done immediately. But because it is from what they call the black race, it doesn't cause them something to think about it. Many Africans are in Europe. Many Africans of descent are in Europe. They're working in every environment. They are supporting the economy of Europe. And yet they are demonstrating in Europe and indicating that the people of Southern Cameroon are in agony about the evil brutality of an 85-year-old brutal dictatorship, Paul Biya. And yet it doesn't occur to the world community that it is something, they had to do something and send this evil dictatorship out of his own living conditions. Military, the purpose of military is to protect and prevent foreign aggression from nations. But when the nations use that same military against its own citizens, that is what should have been the subject of debate in the US, in the Parliament, and here in the United States. I understand the United States is already engaged, and I thank the United States government for engaged immediately, and the US Congress for engaged immediately. But then the European counterparts, that they have more relationship with the people of Southern Cameroon. They haven't decided, they haven't made up their mind, but they're asking Paul Biya to investigate himself and report to the European Union. The British Parliament is asking for a dialogue. Britain has the more voice to say about the Southern Cameroon territory. The British Prime Minister has a voice to say about the Southern Cameroon territory. The people derive their self-identity because of the relationship they have with the people of Great Britain. And yet, it doesn't occur to them. They are celebrating without denouncing and proclaim that the Southern Cameroon, they deserve their sovereignty. Because La République is living with a cohabit with Southern Cameroon, that does not give La République an authority over the Southern Cameroon. I can imagine that each time when I go log on the internet, what I find is images of people being shot by La République. Each time I go to my email, I see but dead bodies being shot by La République du Cameroon. Each time when I look at every aspect, I am seeing dead bodies shot by La République. And then I began to question myself, why is La République doing in Southern Cameroon? Are the people of Southern Cameroon capable of managing their destiny? You, all of us, will agree with me that the people of Southern Cameroon has reached a point of their destiny. They have level of education. They have a level of judgment. They have a level of what else can I be able to describe, and that someone will be able to understand what I am speaking about the people of Southern Cameroon. Today, the Commonwealth are celebrating. Instead of the Commonwealth denouncing La République, they are embracing La République. And in the process of this, there have been ongoing demonstration of the people of Southern Cameroon. These people of Southern Cameroon are almost the brightest people of Southern Cameroon, and they stand as the ambassador of the Southern Cameroon to United Kingdom. And if the brightest are standing in the front of the United Kingdom, demonstrating that the relationship with La République has not yielded any fruit, and that the life of cohabit, living with La République, has not yielded fruit. Instead, their sons and daughters are being evilly murdered by the evil of La Republique. And yet it doesn't occur to them that they need an immediate session of the British Parliament to meet and denounce and proclaim that the people of Southern Cameroon can move forward. It hasn't occurred to the British Parliament to see that they can call immediate session of the United Nations, because we have someone at the United Nations that is ignorant of what is happening, the reality of the world. And that is why when you see crisis happening around the world, it's because we have a stewardship at the United Nations head office here in New York that lack knowledge, skill, and understanding of the geopolitical environment of the world. Why should there be ongoing murdering of people? Because someone somehow failed to do his job. And that is the United Nations Office Secretariat here in the United States. I am sure as the United States Secretary of State is traveling to Central African region, I'm sure he's aware. U.S. Department of Defense is aware. U.S. CIA that monitor security and around the world is aware of the people of Southern Cameroon and their position to move forward with their sovereignty. And yet the entire cabinet of the Southern Cameroon has been arrested or adopted by La Republique, and it doesn't occur to the world community, to the United Nations Secretariat here in the United States to do something about it. Of course, we are thinking about it. We are working on it. When are you working on it? Call the United Nations. A telephone call at the United Nations General Assembly that we need an immediate session to investigate, because as the crisis emancipates, as the crisis progresses, it reached from different era of escalation to another era of escalation. And it will reach a point where there is no human soul will be able to walk in Southern Cameroon territory. But we have an office here called United Nations. They remain a deaf ear, remain ignorant, and it seems they don't know what is happening. But at the end of the day, they go to the bank to collect their salary because they are being paid by us working here in the United States and making that affordable for them to maintain peace and security. And it doesn't occur to them to stand and denounce that the interim government of Southern Cameroon deserves their voice, and the entire cabinet that was arrested in Nigeria. And Nigerian government remains silent. It seems like they are being, the current president of Nigeria and the one in La Republique du Cameroon, they are of the same age. I doubt whether they still have mental function capacity. People are just voting. They don't even know whether does they have mental capacity that is still function to the norms of the society. And yet you will agree with me that his mental capability, especially the one in Nigeria and La Republique, they are all the same. And bribery has been the common target. Bribery and distortion is what is common in the Central, in West African region. No business can take place without bribing. Even the security that was supposed to be protecting in Nigeria has become the worst corrupted system in Nigeria. Imagine a security protecting the people of Nigeria and a foreign government come and bribe, and it doesn't occur to them that those involved should have been in jail right away. But La Republique came and bribed the Nigerian government and took the entire cabinet of Southern Cameroon. And yet the world community remains silent. United Nations head office here in the United States remains silent. And it doesn't occur to them to call immediate session of the United Nations General Assembly and discuss that the people of Southern Cameroon is a sovereign nation and they have a right to their fair hearing, and that living with a cohabit with La Republique doesn't mean that La Republique is the sole architect of the Southern Cameroon. I'm sure if you have been living here in the United States, you must understand the word cohabit. Cohabit means you find a girl and you are living together and you have never thought of getting married, but you are living together. That is exactly what is happening in Southern Cameroon and La Republique. And yet La Republique claimed to be a married husband of the people of Southern Cameroon. And so they can murder even if they are living cohabit, a wife, a girlfriend here in the United States have a voice. That even though she's living cohabit, she still have a voice, and that voice needs to be heard. And if that voice could be heard, then the Southern Cameroon should be heard at the United Nations. I know today's Monday. Today's Monday. United Nations is sitting here in New York. They remain silent. It doesn't occur to them. They need to call an immediate sessions and then discuss the ongoing crisis of the Southern Cameroon. The world community remains silent. I remember when they asked one of the members of the British representative here in New York, and he said he doesn't understand what is happening in Southern Cameroon, and he asked him to be a British representative. And he's not even aware of the colonial territory. And he's not even aware something is happening in Southern Cameroon. And he said, let me go and think about it. How frustrating having a British foreign representative is not aware of history. Then he should be immediately returned to London, because he doesn't deserve to be a representative at the United Nations that is not aware of physical reality. It is very sad. It is a bizarre. It is sad and it is a bizarre. If the United Nations has responded promptly to the ongoing crisis in Southern Cameroon, we who have not arrived at this stage, we won't be in this stage of crisis, and the people will not be suffering. Imagine mother and children are living in the forest, and mother have been delivering the children in the forest, and one kind of wondering whether are we still in the era of the dark ages. Are we? Are we still in the era of the dark ages? Are we still in the era of the early man, where the early man was using stone as a means to harvest fire, where the early man didn't have means for other means or sources of food? They used sticks as a source of hunting. But we have gone above that era, and we have arrived in a position where human has used science, and I can imagine that while the world has moved past the level of the dark ages, but United Nations are more concerned of who are speaking and who is affected. And if the people of this, and then it doesn't mean nothing to them. They don't need to call a session on behalf of the people of Southern Cameroon until the last person is murdered. And when you call them and ask, oh, they say, we are working on it. Working on the people of Southern Cameroon. I think the office needs to be closed down. If it doesn't protect every human being in the world, then the United Nations is not responsible. And then the office needs to be closed. And every part of the world should determine their destiny, rather than having the worst United Nations office here in the United States, and they can respond promptly for any genocide affecting people of the world. And if that is the case, then the United Nations office here in the United States needs to be closed down. And the people's wages that are being default, that are being cut and sent to the United Nations, need to be closed down, because it doesn't meet any aspiration. Because if they are selecting whom to respond, then it's basically needless to have United Nations office here. And let every individual people take care of their crisis. I mean, it is very, very regrettable that United Nations has not called an immediate general session to discuss the crisis that is going in Southern Cameroon. And the worst brutal dictatorship living now on the planet, Pobia, they're just murdering people of the Southern Cameroon. Their military and entire occupation have been causing havoc in the Southern Cameroon. And it doesn't occur to the United Nations that they have a duty to call a immediate session to discuss the crisis. And worse still, the people of Britain and the British Parliament, doesn't occur to them, they need to call an immediate session and discuss the Southern Cameroon crisis. Yes, they remain silent. And the worst too is the African called the OAU. I am wondering whether who are they? Because they're the same animals living there. There are some animals called the OAU. They are the animals. Because if they understand the magnitude, understand historical fact, they should have been the first to condemn La République and should immediately send troops to the southern Cameroon and protect their self-identity. And yet, it doesn't occur to them. And they remain silent because they are the group of the dictatorship, and they maintain their own self-identity rather than the interest of all. And yet, when the U.S. Secretary of State traveled to meet this worst member called the OAU, I think it is time to disband the OAU and we get a new generation of OAU, because the current OAU in its structure and its form is totally a disgusting one. It's a disgusting. It is time we need a new fresh OAU summit. It is time we need a new US summit, and that would design an OAU that stands for the sovereignty of African continent. That when there is a crisis, there should be a crisis team that be ready and available to intervene when the problem occurs. Then having the same set of United OAU setting, it is totally a disgusting, it is a disgrace for the African descent to have that structure. When they hear that at least 60,000 people of African continent are not languishing in the bush, in the forest, and it doesn't occur to them, they need to call an immediate session of the OAU summit and discuss the crisis. What is the quorum? What is the group of number of African countries that can stand and convey the OAU? But it is made of the brutal dictatorship that they have been in power for decades, and they are not willing to relinquish power, and so therefore they must maintain the status quo. And that is why I am asking that the current OAU should be discarded and the new OAU summit be reconvened and discuss the correct dignity of the African continent, and that when Africa stands, they should be able to have voice, and that this current OAU summit in Africa, or the OAU, is absolutely redundant and should be discarded, and a new OAU be reconvened and define the standard of OAU, because the current structure is redundant and I don't see them going anywhere. And that is why I am speaking to all of us, and that we need to stand up and become more productive to the world. We must show sign of leadership. We must escalate ourselves, and then we be able to meet and talk the issues affecting African continent. I can imagine that at least 60,000 citizens are languishing in forests, and some are in Nigeria, and it doesn't occur to that OAU immediate summit need to occur and define what is the role of OAU, and no one seems to occur to them. And the United States Secretary is romancing with this OAU. I think it should have been the first body to be denounced right away, because the value of the United States is the value that respected everywhere in the world. I understand the United States cannot do everything alone, but they must speak clearly, freely, and that this is our vision, seeing the world, and Africa need to demonstrate that they are capable, rather than having one brutal dictatorship to the next brutal dictatorship, using military rather than for the good of the citizens of that country, but for to suppress the liberty of the people. It is a bizarre, absolutely a bizarre. It is absolutely. It is absolutely. I know many of you have questions. And the children that are growing, they are asking questions. Who is La République in the first place? Because history has never taught in school exactly what is the relationship of La République, because they have distorted information to fit their own convenience. Southern Cameroon was their conquered territory. Southern Cameroon is not and will not remain the property of La République. La République is a French colony, and La République need to stay where the boundary of La République ends and leave the Southern Cameroon sovereignty alone. And I'm calling the United Kingdom. I am calling the United Kingdom. They need to raise up, they need to come up, and they need to stand for the freedom of the society. If they have been the leader of the free world, then they should step up and denounce it, and step up here in the United Nations, because this office here in the United States is a redundant. And if Britain is having a representative here in the United States, it must be someone that is knowledgeable about factual information and historical information, not just pick any son and daughter because it become a relative of the most high prime minister, or is a relative of the parliament, or is a relative, and he is clueless of the historical factual information, and they sent to the United Nations and said, when he asked, what is Southern Cameroon? Maybe what is India? He might not know exactly whether they have any relationship because his paycheck is flowing easily. How about that, London? Are you there? Are you listening? Number 10 down street, are you listening to my message? Or your phone is hung up? I am speaking here from the United States, from the great state of the United States. I am speaking here from Texas about the Southern Cameroon territory that is going under agony. And there's no air, there's no oxygen for the people to breathe. The people are going through agony. There's no oxygen for the people to breathe. And yet, they have a master they claim to be Britain. And even despite the fact that there is an ongoing demonstration, as I'm speaking here, it doesn't occur to them to raise a call and that we must stand with the people of Southern Cameroon and move forward for their sovereignty. And that we need to call an immediate session of the United Nations. It is immediate that when Britain, as a veto member of the United Nations, stating to the United Nations that I need a general session of the United Nations about the ongoing crisis of Southern Cameroon. I am the architect, and I am coming here, this office, as the architect of the United Nations, and that I am standing here to talk about the people of Southern Cameroon and the ongoing agony and crisis. It is not me reporting. Even the BBC has report. Even the major media has report. It doesn't occur to Britain that they need to step up. They need to step up. And how and when, it remains to be seen. But I will continue to raise my voice. I will continue to stand advocate for the people of Southern Cameroon. And I will continue to speak until something is done about it. And La République need to vacate the Southern Cameroon territory. The people of Southern Cameroon are now using every means to defend their sovereignty. They're using every crooked means to defend their sovereignty because of an invader, La République du Cameroon. The military are just terrorizing the children, their mother, their parents, the little kid, and you can even watch the horrific video as I post them on my Facebook, my YouTube account. It doesn't occur to the world. We have to do something about it. And that is why I am speaking here to the people of the United States. Because the people of the United States is the people I love. And the people that I owe allegiance to them. And I am asking that United States need to stand up. It is not, if the United States can recognize that Jerusalem is the capital of Israel, and no one can question. And I am sure United States stand for the people of Southern Cameroon, and there is no one to question United States. And that is why I am speaking here to the people of the United States, that they need to step up and do something, and that maintain human dignity and human soul, and avoid the genocide that is currently going to the southern Cameroon. I know Britain, I know United States, I know they are capable, I know they listen to me, I know I have somebody that I am speaking to, and that person is related to the government that is able to do something. And that is why I am asking the United States government, do something now. Thank you.